and he's back today with a winning machine. Bob, it's been a while.
It has been a while, Mark. I was just thinking it's been a long time since I've raced here. But, you know, I haven't forgotten the circuit.
You were king here a few years ago.
Well, it takes a little while to work up to that. But, yes, we did win a lot of races here in the Tirana for the Ron Hodson team. And, yes, I like the circuit.
A Mazda.
Yeah, something different. We looked at a clean sheet, as it were, and said, well, what is the most suitable car for Amaroo Park that's available? And it turned out to be the Mazda.
Perhaps suitable for the James Hardy 1000 later in the year?
Well, perhaps it might be. You know, then we'll look again at the James Hardy and see how things are developing. But I think it's going to be a very good car to drive there because it's easy to drive. It's not fatiguing. And at Bathurst, you have to look at the fatigue factor. It's a long race, and when you have to go hard all the time, you can get very tired.
So is Bob Morris back just to run the New South Wales races, or back to run rounds of the Touring Car Championship as well this year?
We're back to do a limited program. We'll be doing some races here at Amaroo. We will do a couple of Touring Car Championship races just to see how we're developing the car with the view to running at Bathurst.
You went to Bathurst last year, as I said before, as a spectator, but got up running in the top 10 in qualifying and running very, very strongly in the race. A lot of people stamp that as perhaps your finest individual performance.
Well, it was a one-off thing. I hadn't driven for over a year, and I just happened to be Johnny on the spot when, you know, these fellas needed a little bit of a hand, and I was only too willing to jump in. And we did lead the race at one stage, and I had a great time, and I thought, well, I haven't lost my touch, and we'll see if we can do something for this year.
The drive in the Commodore at Bathurst, did that stir all the adrenaline to get back into touring car racing? Or if you hadn't have driven at Bathurst, would you have been happy to have stayed out of it for a while?
Well, I was starting to sort of drain out of my system a little bit, but after a drive there, where I did have a good run with Alan Moffat in the Mazda, I could see the potential of the Mazda, even though the Commodore was a very good car to drive.
Okay, you're fifth on the grid today. You're not too happy about that?
Well, we had a controversial practice yesterday. The timekeepers here seemed to be reluctant to read the numbers as they're drawn on the car, and perhaps you know, being our first meeting here, they weren't exactly to the rules, and we have to change the numbers slightly so that the timekeepers can read them. But they said that they had difficulty timing us yesterday, and consequently we don't think we're exactly where we should be on the grid. But nevertheless, we're here to race, and that's what we'll do.
Well, I'll let you get into the car. I know you're getting ready to go out now.
Thanks very much, mate.
Bobby Morris, one to watch, of course, in the upcoming Better Breaks AMSCAR Touring Cars, heat number 1. Here's Garry.
Well, the rain has stopped, and it's looking a little brighter momentarily here at Amaroo Park as cars come round to grid up for our next race on the program, and it's going to be a thrill-a-minute event. There's Christine Gibson, car number 60, the Nissan Pulsar Turbo. Be interesting to see how this car goes today. It's proving a bit of a handful for her and hasn't been performing quite as well as the Nissan team would like. This car may not be, but the Bluebird with Garry Scott at the wheel certainly has. It's going to be involved in another knockdown drag out with Steve Masterton. They get rolling in this race because the pair of them share the front row of the grid again. And the way Masterton has that big Falcon going, it could be desperation time when they get to the top of Bitchapave Hill for the first time. Jimmy Richards in the JPS BMW, which you'll spot shortly, is probably wishing that the heavens would open up and it would start teeming rain again, because they're the conditions under which he excels. There's Garry Scott there, car 16. Copped a bit of a nudge from Steve Masterton last meeting out here at Amaroo Park. Didn't suffer any untoward damage. In fact, came back later in the program and was the only one that got anywhere near Masterton. In fact, here they come up the main straight after that little warm-up to take their positions on the grid for the start of Heat 1, the first of 3 heats today. This is a 5-lapper for the Better Breaks AMSCAR Touring Series here at Amaroo Park. The man leading the series is Steve Masterton. 3 wins from 3 heats at the last meeting. Let's go through the grid for today's race, however, from the top, and it's car 16, Garry Scott, the Nissan Turbo Bluebird in front. Sharing the front row of the grid, Steve Masterton in the Falcon. Terry Shield making his return to Amaroo Park in an RX7 in 3rd spot. Then Jim Richards in the BMW, watch out for him. Bobby Morris returns to racing in an RX7 on row 3 of the grid. but alongside him, Terry Finnigan in the Commodore. Then Gary Wilmington, another big Falcon. Mike Bergman, having forsaken that big Camaro that he used to drive, turns out in an RX7. Then Christine Gibson in the Nissan Pulsar. Fred Geisler in a Commodore. And Ken Matthews also driving a Commodore. Paul Jones in a Falcon. And at the rear of the grid for this race, Tony Mulberhill and David Cox, both driving RX7s. Garry Scott, young Queenslander, who really at the age of 30, his career is only just starting to blossom. He's been around for some time. He's had starts with the dealer team previously and now with Nissan. And as I said, really is just about to set sail, I think, on what could be a great career.
Field lining up for the first heat, the 5-lap sprint. And we're set for a start. Flag is up. And the field getting away with Steve Masterton probably selecting second gear to get away in. Garry Scott on the inside of him. Bob Morris making a good start as well, and so too did Terry Shield. They head up Betchapave Hill for the first time, and it's Masterton in front. Second spot to Garry Scott, and Jim Richards making a lightning start is up into third. On the inside of him, and will take him, is Terry Finnigan. So Finnigan moves up into third as they head down towards Mazda Corner.
And Terry Shield, obviously, in third spot on the grid, has lost out in that early battle. Interesting that Masterton has the front, because last time out here, Garry Scott was the one that was winning the jump, and then Masterton was bulldozing his way past him.
Although the V8...
Oh, there goes Scott again.
He's got the short treatment coming out of the corner, right in front of the tree there. He's going to try and find his way onto the racetrack again. So bad luck for Garry Scott. If he can make it ever down to the lake corner in front, he might win one here at Amaroo Park.
Oh, bad luck. Oh, Masterton getting the tail out there and almost into the fence as they come up the main straight, 1 lap down, and Finnigan setting out in pursuit after having got rid of Garry Scott. Poor old Scotty, he'll be wondering what's going on. Look at the damage there to the front of Finnigan's car. Goodness me, bits and pieces everywhere.
Finnigan is closed up behind Steve Masterton as the two of them move, and now
smoke
for the inside run. It's very narrow there. Can he do it? Yes, he does. Terry Finnigan now goes through to take over the lead in car number 4.
Hasn't this car found some muscle?
Well, he's an Amaroo Park specialist, as they like to call the fellows who run here and don't tour Australia, and they're very, very hard to beat here at the best of times, whether it be dry or in the wet. Terry Finnigan running away with this one down to the lake. About 20 metres back to Steve Masterton, then of course about 100 then back to Jim Richards and the JPS.
Bobby Morris is in 4th place too, by the way.
Through the Wonderlick corner. And one more lap completed by the race leader now, Terry Finnigan. And he is starting to pull away from Steve Masterton.
Well, here's a shock, because Masterton was unbeatable last time out here at Amaroo Park and set sizzling times in that big Falcon, faster than any V8 had ever been put round this circuit previously in the touring car category. But Finnigan has given him the go-by this time and has done very, very well. Is powering away, although the front of his car looks like somebody has attacked it with an axe.
There's Masterton going through, very gingerly too, so some problem has beset Steve Masterton. It's hard to imagine from the last meeting to today, Masterton was in a class of his own, able to run away. And
Bobby Morris in 3rd place, by the way, has taken Jim Richards, Mike.
There's Morris now starting to come up. You'll see the gap shortly. There's Morris coming into view through the lake corner. Finnigan goes beneath our camera position. Steve Masterton in the Ford, then followed by Bob Morris in the RX7. And next is Jim Richards. That's the order. First back to 3rd, then Richards goes through in the black BMW.
Bobby Morris having his first outing here at Amaroo Park for some considerable time, and in the ex-Barry Jones RX7, and he's really making it fly.
A very good driver indeed is Bob Morris.
Closing on Masterton.
Just getting close to him now through Mazda corner and down to the left-hander at Honda. And he's made up a tremendous amount of ground in the last 2 laps, Bob Morris. Coming down to the lake corner and close. closes up again, under brakes now on Steve Masterton.
I don't think the timekeepers will have any difficulty seeing the number on the side of Bob's car today.
No. Whoop, a little sideways coming out of that corner. It has closed now by rights. Masterton should be able to pull away from Morris coming up the hill. He has a problem as they enter their last lap. It should show. Masterton is able to pull just away a little. Morris will close it up over the top and dropping down into Dunlop Loop. Here's the real scrap of the race as they enter the final lap. Masterton going a little wide. Morris pecking away there at the inside. Will probably show the nose of the car on the inside as they come down and takes Masterton. Masterton allows him through, so Bob Morris comes from 5th on the grid up into 2nd place.
Sets out in pursuit of the race leader, Finnigan, but Finnigan is down into Lake Corner already with only 2 turns, 1 turn left to go in the race now, and he's about 230, 40, almost put the tail in the wall. Finnigan over anxious. He can afford to take his foot off the accelerator right now and still coast to an easy win. He does that, in fact, as he takes the checkered flag about 230 metres ahead of Bobby Morris. Morris coming around now in the RX7 to take 2nd spot. And Steve Masterton coming in behind him, arm out the window, an acknowledgement by Bobby Morris as the cars run up over the hill on their slowdown lap, and official placings come up on our screen. Terry Finnigan in the Commodore, and easy winner in the first heat of today's 2nd round of the Better Brakes AMSCAR Touring Car Series here at Amaroo Park. Bobby Morris returning to racing in 2nd place, and in 3rd place, Steve Masterton. Well, there was some fun and excitement. Let's take another look in this first heat. Now, in the first lap, watch Finnigan, left of screen, the blue car, number 4. Just a little nudge there in the tail of Garry Scott in the Nissan Bluebird, and for the 2nd meeting running, Scott is off. Last time it was a little action between himself and Steve Masterton. This time between Garry Scott and Terry Finnigan. Scott can't win. Finnigan can. Now there he is, going into pit lane now. Winner of the first heat.